welcome to a cover story conversation. We have with us Sachin Pilot, Congress leader, former Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan, and the star campaigner for the Congress party in the coming assembly elections. Welcome, Sachin, for this conversation.
Thank you.
And Sachin, we are meeting at a time where we are also seeing, the Congress is in terms of, say, a leadership crisis. We are seeing a lot of people who were close to Rahul Gandhi who are quitting the party. So, what is the morale and the state of the Congress currently?
You see, there's not a single party or a single state where elections are being held where leaders have not jumped ship. It's not happened for the first time, and perhaps it's not the last time.
Right.
So, leaders, political workers shift loyalties before elections in almost every state. So, it's not a new thing. To your point about the Congress party, we've had many people who've joined the Congress party and some have left the party. I think that decision is individual based. But the people of the state, people who vote in the elections, vote on the manifesto, the party ideology, the background, history, and what blueprint you have for the future. So, what the Congress party represents is a new sort of a roadmap, whether it's Uttarakhand, whether it's Uttar Pradesh, or in Punjab, what we need to do in the future for the next 5 years. So, that's what voters focus on. I don't think it's a question of this leader was close to that or this. Everybody was given a chance, some people performed, and now they parted ways. So let the voters be the final judge about whether that decision was right or wrong. And I think the party is 135 years old, and we have a long history. We have a lot of hard work ahead of ourselves.
No, fair enough, I take your point. But the point is that a lot of people who've left have been those who are close to Rahul Gandhi. That is why, the Harak Singh Rawat was not really close to Amit Shah. Or,
that's wrong way to look at it. Harak Singh Rawat was a sitting cabinet minister of Uttarakhand government, a state where BJP is in power in Dehradun and in Delhi, and they have been claiming that they will win back a sweeping majority. If they were so confident, why would a sitting cabinet minister resign? Forget Uttarakhand, look at Uttar Pradesh. There are 13 MLAs who've left the BJP and 3 ministers who resigned from the cabinet. If the double engine Sarkar was so strong and powerful and as confident as they'd want us to believe, then why would they jump ship at the last minute? So, whether they were close to Mr. Yogi or some other leader in Delhi is irrelevant. The fact is that a sitting minister in the cabinet is resigning where you are hoping to get 3/4 majority. So, obviously, ground is slipping under their feet. They don't want us to believe that, but that's the reality.
Oh, fair enough. But just one last question on the Congress, which is, you've been very, I think you're becoming very smart at, handling these questions. But the fact of the matter is that, early on they were saying that dynasty came with its own Employment Guarantee Act within the Congress. So is there a rethink now that,
Dekho, pehli baat, Priya, in politics, there is no Employment Guarantee Act. You have to work and earn everything you get. Some people have a name that is recognizable. But then also don't forget that those individuals have that higher an expectation to deliver. So people are the judge. I don't think anyone should take power for granted or their position for granted. If you're rooted, if you're dedicated, if you keep proving yourself, no matter who you are, whether you come from a political family or not, you will sustain, you will flourish. If you take things for granted, if you don't work hard, if you don't deliver on the people's expectation, then you will fall on the wayside. It's as simple as that. I don't think it's a binary, whether you're from political dynasty or you're not. And the Congress party, we had 2 election successes in 2004 and 2009. And then we had 2 losses in 2014 and 2019. Obviously, we have to work hard to make sure that the Congress party and our allies are able to mount a formidable challenge in 2024 to defeat the NDA and be able to serve the people of India through a government. For that, we need to win state elections. And that's why I'm confident that in these 5 states, in Goa, in Uttarakhand, and in Punjab, and also Manipur, Congress party will fare really well, will form the governments. Uttar Pradesh is a challenge because we've been out of power for more than 30 years. But there also, if you look at it, in the last 4.5 years, of course, we're a much smaller party than the SP and BSP. But have you seen the Samajwadi Party or the BSP really agitating or protesting against the government or raising people's issues? It has been Priyanka Gandhi, it has been the Congress party that has been present, whether it's Unnao case, Hathras case, Lakhimpur Kheri case, getting arrested, getting detained on the street. That sort of a public representation of the grievances was done by the Congress party. I'm not making tall claims. I'm just saying look at the facts and history for the last 2 or 3 years. The real on-the-ground opposition in UP has also been led by Priyanka Gandhi and the Congress party.
No, I take your point, and in fact, this is a point that one of these people who've left the Congress from Uttar Pradesh pointed out to me. I made the same case to them, but they said, look, Priyanka Gandhi was active during the lockdown on the buses, on the migration issue, on Hathras and now. But what happened closer to the elections? She just seems to lose steam. So this is the same hit and run consistency of Rahul Gandhi, which we are seeing also by Priyanka. That is their worry, that it's not consistent.
Look, people have their freedom to pass judgments, and we politicians should get used to getting judged or being judged. But when someone is in charge of a state, they are fully dedicated to developing the party, and we are much stronger on the ground than we were before. The numerical case can be fought after March 10th, but in terms of perception, in terms of hard work, in terms of creating an organization that can deliver election results, from where we were 3 years ago to where we are today, we've come a long way. Amount of time, effort, resources that we have developed in district level, in block levels, our organization was suffering because for 30 years we've not been in power, and it's a multi-corner contest in UP. It's not easy, and we don't do caste politics or religion-based politics. So of course, it's much more difficult to get traction because emotive issues are much easier to ride on. We don't believe in that. We have a separate manifesto for farmers, for young people, for women, and I think that's getting attention from the masses. It may not be covered in mainstream media, but people understand that here is a party that has a legacy, that has history, that has track record, and that is genuine in its effort. So we will get political dividend for that when the counting day comes by.
बीजेपी के बारे में कहते हैं that their username is development, but their password is Hindutva. But Congress का क्या formula है? What is your username? What is your password?
I think we don't have to unlock anything. We have to just stay the course. जैसे मैंने पहले कहा आपको, in 24 we'll have Lok Sabha elections. So we in the Congress party have to start winning states. And again, I go back to my own state of Rajasthan. To win a state election, it won't happen at the end of 5 years. You have to start winning panchayat elections, corporation elections, sarpanch elections, pradhan elections, cooperative elections, dairy elections, agricultural marketing board elections. Those are the grass cooperative society elections. Those are the basis on which you start creating traction and the workers get affiliated with the party. Once you have that ground secured, then you can take on the Vidhan Sabha elections. And you have few states that are your strongholds. Then, you get strength to, increase your numbers dramatically in the Lok Sabha polls. So that's how we have to do it. We've had few successes in states. We have governments in some states. We have coalition governments in some states. And these 5 states, I think, will also be a good reflection of what the people are thinking. And don't forget, there were 5 by-elections in 5 states, in Karnataka, in Himachal, in Rajasthan. So in Rajasthan, there were 2 by-elections of Vidhan Sabha. BJP came 4th and lost deposit in the other one. In Himachal, we won a Lok Sabha election. In Karnataka, we won a Lok Sabha election, defeating the BJP. So therefore, I keep repeating myself that at a national level, it is the Congress party that has the bandwidth, the acceptance, the presence, the determination to take on the BJP nationally. Of course, regional players have their role to play, and regional parties are now important in India's political ecosystem. But Congress and its allies, UPA, and I keep saying that it should be UPA plus plus, should get more allies, move forward. And I think 7 years of the BJP government, people have seen price rise, inflation, mishandling of corona, the economy. There is not a sector or segment of our society that has been satisfied with what was promised and what has been delivered.
So you see, the fact is that yes, local elections, Congress, or even state elections, the Congress does perform well in one of the states where you're from. You were part of that winning team. But what happens is nationally, unfortunately, you're pitted straight against Modi. So that's where the Congress falls short. 2012, what happened? You won Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, UP also, Akhilesh Yadav won. But BJP and Modi came to power. So the whole...
Look, there are many reasons. 2019 elections were held at the backdrop of, the incidences that happened at the border with Kashmir, with Pakistan, etc. So maybe some of that sentiment had, reasons that affected the electoral prospects. But ultimately, Priya, people judge how much is my household expense today. Look at the price of petrol, diesel, cooking gas, sarson ka tel, sabun, sabji, chini, chai patti, everything's expensive. And jobs have been lost. The economy is still struggling. Superficially, you can create all these, ads and hoardings and, social media, etc. But people are hurting. And, the gap between the rich and the poor has increased so much. So there have been millions of people who have now fallen below the poverty line. Jinke liye, small things have become inaccessible. So we heard a 20 lakh crore relief package post-corona, if you recall. Where is that money gone? who's got it? Every large economy has given money straight to the people in their pocket, so they have higher disposable incomes. They can consume household goods and kind of increase the economic consumption. वो सब हुआ नहीं. A few people have got benefits of the lockdown and they've really increased their wealth, as you know. The poorer have gotten worse. The farmers are struggling, and they were promised to double their income.
Yeah.
They can't even get their crop procured at MSP prices. So there is a problem, I think, in the way the government has functioned. There's mishandling on many sectors, and they need to be made accountable. And as a responsible opposition, it's my job to ask the right questions, to ask the tough questions, to ask for transparency and accountability. And that's the real magic of a democracy.
But see, that's the thing. There is a lot that is going on wrong. There is a huge anti-incumbency against the government. But the Congress has not been the face of any solution. Whether it's the farmers' problems, Jayant Chaudhary came up. In terms of small industrialists or MSMEs losses, is there one sector or students? There's a whole lot of chaos at the university level also.
I think
has any Congress leader been the face of one agitation solution?
I don't think we really want to own up one agitation. When the farmers were agitating, we did not want to make it political, because then it would give reason for the BJP government to say,
but the farmers didn't think Congress is our savior. ना वो जा तो रहे जयंत के पास जा रहे हैं.
कहाँ जाएगा बात की बात है. But on principle, we said that this is wrong. For a year, the farmers were protesting. 700 farmers lost their lives. As opposition, we don't want to put a party flag there, but in principle, we believe that it was wrong. And we raised our voices. Now, whether it's price rise, whether it's corruption issues, whether it's some foreign policy issues, China is making inroads into our system, into our borders in the northeast. There's such opaque, governance structures that you're not getting answers. But within the parliament, outside parliament, every time, I think the Congress party has led from the front in terms of being the opposition. To your point, are we getting all the benefit of that? Perhaps not. But
why not?
But that should not be the case also, right? Should I do everything only to get votes? Should it look like only because I will say this, I'll get votes? That's not the point. No, we have to be on principle.
Sachin, this power is poison argument doesn't work. No, you're not an NGO.
Okay,
you are here to get power.
7 years,
you are here to get the
for
right.
7 years, we're in opposition. And yet, nobody asks the BJP leadership about anything. Or maybe they blame Manmohan Singh government, UPA government. How long? When we were in government, you were asking us questions.
They go straight back to Nehru.
But I'm saying, when we were in power, you asked us questions. Now we're in opposition, you're still asking us questions. I mean, there should be a time when 2 करोड़ नौकरियां, 15 लाख रुपए खाते में आएंगे, फार्मर की इनकम दुगनी होगी, महंगाई खत्म हो जाएगी. I mean, on those fronts, should the BJP not answer questions? Government of India has no accountability. In Parliament, there's no discussion. They just bulldoze because they have majority in the House. I mean, that's not the way a healthy democracy should function.
No, given, I grant you all that. My own point is that despite all that, despite the fact that they are failing miserably, they still have some connect with the voter, some logic, some glue, some...
Well, they have huge resources. They have an ideological plank on which they do their politics.
But they didn't have these huge resources always.
Is that the future direction Indian politics should take? Should it be about the Kashi Mandir, Ram Mandir, Ayodhya, mosque, Hindu, Muslim? Should that be the pivot of our politics and policies? Or should it be about creation of jobs, about having a secure environment, of making our population much more sustainable, healthy, educated, progressive, forward-looking, liberal, secular, thoughtful? That's how I think the debate should be on that. Unfortunately, the debate happens on 80-20, 80 banam 20, or Abba Jan or Bhai Jan, or Hindu or Kashi or temple or mosque. I mean, because of UP elections, it becomes very pronounced. But I don't know if that is the real pivot on which our consciousness should function. Our political thought, political debates, should it be reduced to that, or should it be having a larger viewpoint about how this economy should move forward? There are tens of millions of educated young people who are unemployed. Today, unemployment is the single biggest issue in this country. What are we doing to eliminate that problem? Do we have a roadmap? Do we have a blueprint? Do we have a commitment? Do we have answers to those questions? This population dividend, youth dividend, will become a burden. It already has. In my state and North India, you see, millions of young people, abhi ye bharti railway wali ho rahi thi.
They had it's become a big issue.
It become big because employment is a real worry for most families, and we are doing nothing to eliminate that problem, to talk to them, to find, address those issues. And we're talking about, how to polarize votes and how to do, Jat politics, Muslim politics, Hindu politics.
So these are all important issues, Sachin. The point is, why is the Congress not raising these issues instead of falling into the BJP trap of Hindutva light and that kind of narrative? It's better that for instance, what happened during the last elections, Rahul Gandhi began with Nyay, you were focusing on economic issues. Then again, you got sidetracked into Chowkidar Chor hai, India, Pakistan, and issues that the BJP wants you to focus on.
No, there's no, see, nationalism is not something that needs to be debated. it's whether you have it or you don't have it. I think every single Indian believes.
Why are you letting them run away with this narrative?
See, that narrative comes only during election time, no?
Ah.
But they're using it. I think the NDA, the government of India, the BJP are quite deaf. They don't want to answer real questions, real issues. So you sidestep that. Emotive issues, controversial issues, religious issues. You prop that up. The media takes it up, and people think that's the end of debate. But I think more substantial, more reasonable, and more issues that are common people's issues need to be made the center of our polity. And we are trying our best. I'm trying, the Congress party is trying to do that. Priyanka Gandhi is trying, she's talking about women empowerment, talking about farmers' life, talking about Dalits and tribals, how we can lift them from poverty, how do we take them forward. And those issues, I think even the government of India should now finally focus, 7 saal ke baad, that's where they have to deliver.
Okay, I'm going to take a break and come back and shift the focus to the current assembly elections, to Punjab, Uttarakhand, UP and of course Goa and Manipur. So stay with us after a quick break. Sachin, you just come from Punjab, and I think you merging at the party's star campaign and other states. Where all are you going? You've been to Uttarakhand. Are you going to Goa also?
Yes, I'm going to Uttarakhand the day after, and I was in UP day before yesterday. Then I'd gone to Chandigarh yesterday. So I think we are actively campaigning, and the feedback I've gotten so far, the response has been quite positive. I think in Goa, despite all the attempts that other parties are making, people are quite fed up of the BJP government, want to change, and Congress really is the fallback option because that's a party, our party, that has the widest presence. I mean, new entrants will obviously, they're free to make their entries, but I don't think they'll get votes to win seats in Goa. And Uttarakhand, of course, they've had 3 chief ministers. People want to change in Uttarakhand. We had a very good distribution of tickets. And Punjab, I think 3 months, the Chennai government has really, I think, people have accepted the fact that here is a government that's done something positive. And these 3 states, I think Congress will form the government.
Okay, let's talk about Punjab first. In fact, Rahul Gandhi said, and I heard you reiterate that you are going to announce a CM face for Punjab. Is it going to be Chennai? Is it going to be Sidhu? And if it's, how are you going to manage the fallout?
I don't know. See, ordinarily, the Congress party doesn't announce a CM face.
Punjab mein karte hain.
I mean, we did once because just before the polls, but this time, like Mr. Gandhi said in Punjab the other day, that the workers wanted this time, and the situation has changed. So it's a party decision which state we do what. But there, in a few days' time, I'm told that the Congress party will decide who will be the CM face. That decision lies on the feedback that we get from leaders and workers and our party cadres. And whatever they want, I think the leadership will decide and they'll announce that name. Fallout kya hoga, bhai? Everyone has to work together. See, unless you form a government, CM to baat ki baat hai na. First, we want the mandate, want the majority, and then people can take positions of power. So that's very clearly understood by all leaders and all stakeholders. And they've committed to Mr. Rahul Gandhi that we will work together no matter who amongst us is being chosen. We work as a team, we get past the halfway mark, and then we form the government.
But isn't it a rule that when there is a sitting CM, he becomes the CM face?
No, ऐसा कुछ है नहीं. I mean, CM face because he just took over a few months ago. So I can't speak for what the feedback will offer. But from what I understand, it will be a decision based on many considerations, and most important will be the direct feedback of the party sympathizers, party workers, our leaders, our MLAs, and whatever is the consensus among them or majority, that decision and that name will then be announced by the AICC.
Do you think the Congress is taking some lessons from Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, where there were 2 or more claimants for CM faces, and not announcing, because you know that if you announce it later, then that leads to further heartburn.
So every state has a different dynamic.
Hai,
every state has a different dynamic. So I won't want to go back and talk about what happened in each state, but we have to look forward now, right? And we have to win not just these 4 states that we are going to polls and do very well in UP, but also look at Gujarat and Karnataka that are coming up. And in 20 months' time, we'll have elections back in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. And we must win those states. That's something that really it's important for us in the party and for the 24 Lok Sabha elections.
That's my point. If the Congress, the Congress has to win, otherwise there is an impatience amongst your allies within the opposition that the Congress is not playing its role as a leader. We have Mamata Banerjee's training and putting a hat in the ring. Kejriwal is also not contesting Punjab and Goa just for that. He's also trying to make his position felt. So there is a leadership vacuum where the Congress is not performing.
Again, that could be your view, but as far as the Congress is concerned, the UPA is very much intact. From what I recall, Ms. Mamata Banerjee left the UP in 2012, if I'm not wrong. So UPA intact hai. I just feel we should make it UPA plus plus. We should add more allies who are opposed to the NDA. That Mrs. Gandhi is already doing. She's a UPA chairperson. She's the Congress president, and I think she's had meetings multiple times with leaders of all opposition parties for within parliament and outside. So the UPA is intact. We need to add perhaps more allies who are coming to our fold. And look at the
How
NDA.
do you do that? You don't have a...
आप पहले NDA का देखो ना. Shiv Sena left them. Akali Dal left them. Other parties have left them. The PDP was part of it. So the number of parties, the NDA is actually shrinking, and the UPA is now going to go from strength to strength. So
NDA, the BJP doesn't need the crutch of allies. Congress unfortunately does.
So UPA was formed, in 2004,
Huh.
and there's been no problem in any of our allies. You're saying Congress is not performing its job. I think the Congress is holding the opposition space together. Of course, there are competing interests. So if I'm Congress party and there's a regional party that's part of UPA, obviously we'll compete for space in the state. There has to be give and take. But one must realize that while we do that, you must not let the NDA take advantage of that. So everyone has to give up something. Everybody can't win. But what's the bigger picture? What's the bigger target? What's the bigger agenda for the nation, for the country, for the opposition unity? We must come forward and work together.
But if it means taking a back seat, not being the prime ministerial face, because the Rahul Gandhi or whoever, I mean, currently let's go with him as the party
I
president.
don't recall Mr. Gandhi ever saying that I want to be the prime minister's face or so and so will be the face. We are first saying let's corner the NDA on issues. Let's make our presence felt. Let our opposition get stronger, more united, more coherent, and more acceptable across India. And let's win this election. And then we'll see what will happen. There's been no decision. Rahul Gandhi, when we were in UPA, when Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister, at that time he could have become Prime Minister. I think there was some discussion of being offered that position. He didn't do it. 1990 se, there's nobody from the Gandhi family who's become Prime Minister. So to say that this is about lusting after a position.
That's not a virtue. Saying no is only a virtue in the Congress. Not having ambition is only a virtue in the Congress.
You tell me which political person will leave a position of MLA or MP or minister? Leaving a...
When you are...
all I'm saying to you is that when people say that this is about getting a PM's post, about, so-and-so versus so-and-so, it's never about occupying a position. It's making sure that the party gets stronger and we're able to defeat the NDA. How to do that best? We're happy to talk and discuss and take things forward. Kisne mana kiya?
But Sachin, seriously tell me, won't we be having a different conversation if Rahul Gandhi had indeed taken up a post, ministerial post, forget Prime Minister, in Manmohan Singh's government, shown that there is, whatever he stands for. Today when I ask you where is the Rahul model, there is no Rahul model in the government, there is no Rahul model in Amethi, Wayanad is just a new thing. So there is no Rahul model. Udhar Modi model hai, West Bengal model hai, Delhi model hai. राहुल का क्या है?
अब ये मॉडल टॉम करके क्या फायदा आपको?
पर आप कुछ तो दिखाना है वोटर्स को.
अरे भाई वोटर्स
सचिन का मॉडल हो रहा है.
नहीं देखो, Rahul Gandhi ji, from what I've seen, he is someone who actually took responsibility for the loss in 2019, right? Hang on. He resigned from that post. He's not taken that back yet. I think he feels it's important to have accountability in public life. And he's never shied away from working with the party. There's not a single day when people don't ask him, request him for time or whatever he does. So he's still doing whatever he can. And to say that the Congress party has not been there to fight the good fight, that's wrong. Look, we may not have won the numbers we wanted to win. Obviously, we should have had more numbers in Lok Sabha. We have less numbers. But doesn't mean that we've given up the will to fight and we're going to take a back seat and just let things roll. All of us, not just me, all of us are on the ground, taking on the challenge, asking the tough questions. And in a public, discourse, the Congress party is always in people's consciousness, nationally, like I keep saying. BJP can say what it wants, but there are many states where they have no single MLA MPs, BJP. The Congress party has presence in every booth, every village. And you'll see these 5 elections also will be a good reflection of what people are thinking.
Okay, Sachin Pilot, thank you for joining us. I have one last question for you is, Sachin, one of the reasons that people are saying is that the G23 revolt failed is because Sachin Pilot didn't put his signature on that letter.
There was no revolt and nothing has passed or failed. Everyone is working together and Mrs. Gandhi is the Congress president. She's taken everybody on board. So there's no question of anyone having, different thoughts, etc. We have our views. Everyone will give some suggestion or something, and Mrs. Gandhi has been very open for accepting everyone's viewpoint. But what is more important is that we must stand united to take on the government of India and the NDA. And that's really what we're all working towards.
And that's a message not just for the Congress, but I think for the opposition in entirety. And we have the Parliament session coming up. Let's see what happens in the opposition unity there. But thank you, Sachin Pilot, for this conversation. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.